All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Steve Malzberg Show, Tuesday edition from our New York City studios. Joining us momentarily, Governor Mike Huckabee, an interview we did earlier with him. You're not going to want to miss it. He has a lot of interesting things to say. A lot of interesting things happening today. First of all, Donald Trump. He talked about his policy on immigration, and among the proposals was eliminating birthright, or as some call them, anchor babies, where people come across the border pregnant, have a baby, and that baby automatically becomes a citizen. Well, that's not what the 14th Amendment was intended for, and Donald Trump said, get rid of the 14th Amendment. Well, Scott Walker has said he agrees with Trump as far as birthright. It has to go. Marco Rubio has said, I don't favor repealing the 14th Amendment. And by the way, Jeb Bush has also spoken out against Donald Trump's immigration plan. And interestingly, a new CNN poll out today shows that Jeb Bush's negative rating is higher than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is minus 20. Favorability, unfavorability, minus 20. Jeb Bush is minus 22. What does that say? I think that's one of the most important numbers we've talked about so far. Also, Hillary in kind of some trouble. Of course, you know, now there's reports that the email, her server, the whole thing was run from a loft apartment with its servers in the bathroom. And David Kendall, her attorney, may not have had security clearance to be receiving these emails from her. It's all a right-wing conspiracy, right? All right. She also had this run-in with Black Lives Matter representatives last week. Watch.
If you don't tell black people what we need to do, then we won't tell you all what you need to do.
I'm not telling you. I'm just telling you to tell me.
What I mean to say is that this is and has always been a wet problem of violence. It's not, there's not much that we can do to stop the violence against us.
Well, if that is
a conversation that I push back.
I understand. I understand what you're saying.
Also respectfully.
Yeah. Well, respectfully, if that is your position, then I will talk only to white people about how we are going to deal with the very real problems.
That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean.
Well,
but like what I'm saying is, what you just said was a form of victim blaming. Right? You were saying that what the Black Lives Matter movement needs to do to change white hearts is
no,
to
I'm not
come
talking
up
about.
with a policy
Look, I don't
change.
believe you change hearts. I believe you change laws, you change allocation of resources, you change the way systems operate.
All right, we're going to have a lot more on that on the Malzberg panel. But Mike Huckabee had a chance to talk to him the other day, and I asked him about the speech he gave when he was stumping in Iowa.
Well, thanks. I was the first of the presidential candidates who mounted up on the soapbox and delivered a speech. It was a lot of fun. The State Fair of Iowa is an incredible event, and everybody now will go and probably do their best to convince the voters of Iowa at the State Fair, where people are really paying attention to speeches as much as they are to corn dogs.
All right. Now, you, of course, won Iowa in 2008. And I've recently heard it said in this context, well, Huckabee won it in 08, Santorum won it in 012, and now Trump is leading it. Iowa's not as important as it used to be. I heard that from Larry Sabato. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that's why I did see the interview that he gave. So, I mean, is Iowa still what Iowa used to represent in your view?
Well, of course it is. I mean, to say it isn't is just not to understand the process very well. This is like the NCAA tournament in March. If you don't win in any of the early contests, you're not going to be in the Final Four. And sometimes I hear these pundits and they say Iowa doesn't matter, New Hampshire doesn't matter. Well, tell me who has become the nominee and the president who didn't win one or more of the first three contests. That would be no one. So this notion that it doesn't matter is simply not true. And a person can have an extraordinary amount of money and support. Let me give you an example. 8 years ago, at this point, Rudy Giuliani was way ahead of everybody else. He was in better shape than Donald Trump is in. But by the time the process came around, he ended up getting 0 delegates, because by the time we got to the state where he had decided to play, which was Florida, the debate had already been framed, and he wasn't in it. So he had spent $60 million on a campaign that ended up getting 0 delegates.
All right. Now, there's no analogy to be made there as far as not participating in the process to that point with Trump and Rudy, but you did put them in the same vein there for a second. So let me ask you, do you think that eventually Trump will suffer the same fate as Rudy did?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think his support is very real. People are passionate. A lot of it comes from a big portion of the electorate who's just angry and frustrated. And I understand, because, Steve, I'm angry. Heck, I went out and campaigned for Republicans in 37 states last year, believing that if we got the majority in both houses, that they would actually act like it. And they haven't. So I'm as frustrated as anybody. And I understand where that anger comes from. But this is a long process, and we have a saying in our team that if you're hot when it's hot, you'll be cold when it's cold. In other words, the candidates who are really on fire in the summer leading up before the contest actually begins usually have gone cold by then. And you can go back to the fact that this time in 2007, it was Rudy Giuliani, Fred Thompson, Mitt Romney, John McCain, and I was an asterisk. I ended up coming in second. McCain won. Giuliani and Thompson had dropped out. This time, 4 years ago, Michelle Bachmann was leading. She was way out ahead. By the time the Iowa caucuses came around, she was in 7th place in Iowa.
All right, folks. I also asked Mike Huckabee about John Kerry's trip to Cuba, where they raised the flag over the American embassy.
I feel at home here because this is truly a memorable occasion. A day for pushing aside old barriers and exploring new possibilities. Our leaders, President Obama and President Castro, made a courageous decision to stop being the prisoners of history and to focus on the opportunities of today and tomorrow.
Ill-advised, Governor?
Very ill-advised. Like his Iranian deal, this is another one where we have given over to people who have been longtime enemies. They've been a government that has held political prisoners. They hold a murderer from the U.S. if they refuse to extradite someone who murdered a New Jersey cop. And somehow we think that maybe being able to buy cigars and rum real cheap in Cuba is worth giving over our principles. This administration continues to amaze in its complete nature of being utterly obtuse when it comes to how to handle people who have abused human rights. It seems like we reward people for doing bad things and punish people like Israel for doing good things. This administration and its policies won't end too soon for me.
No, you're absolutely right. And by the way, on Israel, you took a lot of heat for the ovens remark, which I think, as a Jew, thank you for that. Thank you for that. You're right on target. In the minute we have left,
well, Steve,
yeah, go ahead.
Just add that it was interesting that while there was some comments that pretended it was a terrible thing, the fact is, overwhelmingly, the support was very strong. And in fact, Zionist Organization for America, one of the strongest Jewish organizations, came out in strong favor of what we were doing.
Yeah, Mort Klein's group, very good group, yes.
Amazing that the media made it like the whole Jewish world was against me, and in fact, that's not the case.
Well, that's par for the course with the media. The media lives in an alternate universe, whether it's on abortion or whether, they tell you the sky is green, the grass is blue, and if you don't believe it, there must be something wrong with you, as I always like to say. Anyway, yeah. So, but I want to again, I do want to thank you very much for saying that, and I support you 100%. You were absolutely positively right on that very, very important issue. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll have more coming up in the next segment with Governor Mike Huckabee, where he will talk about, some more on Hillary and the Clintons. I think you'll find it very interesting. Also, don't forget, Mike Mukasey, former Attorney General of the United States, has written a great piece at the Wall Street Journal talking about Hillary and how she's in big trouble, and we'll talk with him exclusively right here coming up on the Steve Malzberg Show after the next segment with Governor Huckabee. It's all straight ahead. Susan Ferricchio will be here. The Malzberg panel will be here. We will not miss a beat, my friends, right here on Newsmax Television. Don't go away.